Hello, this is Brian, and this is another episode of Spotlight on Trees. Today is November 17th, 2019. A mild Sunday here in the Angeles National Forest in the San Gabriel Mountains. This is the Buckhorn Campground near Angeles Crest Highway and Waterman Mountain. And today's spotlight is a tree you'll see a lot in canyons here in Southern California. It's called the White Alder, Alnus rhombifolia. It's usually a fairly small to medium-sized winter-deciduous tree. Alnus rhombifolia is in the Birch Family, the Betulaceae. And this is what the leaves look like. The leaves are kind of double-toothed. Kind of small, kind of fuzzy. As you see, they're kind of double-toothed, and they abscise very easily in the fall without changing a lot of color. A lot of our alder trees, I don't know if it's alders in general, but I know white alder does not really change color in the fall as it's going leafless. Basically, the leaves may dull a little bit, maybe get some brownish hues, and then they just abscise easily from the tree. Like I said, it's a winter deciduous tree. Since we are in mid-November, the trees are about 2/3 leafless, so they're on their way to their complete leaflessness. But at least they still had enough leaves so I could show you some identifying features. Now, the leaves tend to be bigger in moister locations, like this, and on younger shoots. As you can see here, leaves are quite decent size. As you can see here, there are a lot of smaller leaves. These are the leaves that are more in the sun-exposed canopy higher up in the tree, which is drier and more exposed to the sun. Plus, a lot of the leaves here in the understory need more surface area to collect more sunlight in order to photosynthesize, and that's pretty common with pretty much any broadleaf tree. Now, as you see here, I believe the name comes from the slightly whitish, but more of a grayish colored bark, kind of a little similar to a quaking aspen. If you watch my October edition, one of my October videos on Spotlight on Trees, I spotlighted quaking aspens. So the bark's a little similar to a quaking aspen, but it's darker. It's darker, of course, and they're not really related. So white alders have their flowers in these long catkins, and usually they start opening up well before they leaf out. Usually somewhere in the later winter months, the little catkin flowers will start opening up. And in fact, if I can get to it, okay, here's a perfect example. See, these right here are the pre-developed catkin buds. Later on during the winter and early spring, they will elongate and open up, and these will pollinate. These are the male flowers, and these are the female flowers of the white alder right here. So these will become the fruit and the seeds of the alder tree. So later on, these will elongate to these structures that look like little pine cones. And here are some old spent fruits here. So they look like little miniature pine cones. So they're basically these little fruit structures. And what happens is each little individual fruit opens up like a cone scale, and the little seeds come out of it. So those seeds look like a pine cone. Now, white alders can get quite large. In the Buckhorn Campground area, they do get quite large here. These trees are maybe about 35, maybe 40 feet, but they have been known to reach 100 feet in height sometimes. There are some down, if you take the Burkhart Trail at the bottom of this campground, you take the Burkhart Trail down to Cooper Canyon, there are some very large white alders down there. And when they get very large and older, their bark starts cracking and furrowing, like this white alder right here. This is when they get much older. Now, to my knowledge, they are not supposed to be severely long-lived trees, and they are supposed to be quite fast-growing, sometimes up to a few feet per year, especially when they're young. Now, they start out with a fairly narrow crown, like a lot of young trees, and then they broaden up and get more of a rounded crown when they're older, as you can see here. Now we got some more white alders here. White alder is the only member of the Betulaceae in Southern California, the only member of the Birch family. So this is our only native species. To find the next Birch family trees, you'd have to go up to the southern Sierra, southern or central Sierra, and I think you have Betula occidentalis. And in central California, you start seeing Alnus rubra, the white alder. So one thing you will notice about hiking by white alders, especially when they have leaves on them, is a very woodsy aroma, very pleasant, very soft and gentle aroma. It's given off by the foliage of the trees. And here's some more white alders here shedding their leaves. Now, so you'll know, well, actually, sometimes you might be a little confused because their soft woodsy smell, kind of a little bit similar to California sycamore, Platanus racemosa, which is a much larger tree with much larger maple-shaped leaves. They also have a similar aroma. So, like I said, it's a very pleasant woodsy aroma, very prevalent. I can smell it right now very, very nicely. Here's an older trunk right here of a white alder. Sorry for the glare. Tell it's been around for a while. So if further down in the Pleasant View Ridge Wilderness, these trees get quite large, and they can. Got some older specimens here as well. You can tell they're losing their leaves. Awesome tree. And basically, white alder, I believe, has a fairly decent distribution in the West. I don't know the exact distribution, but you will find it all up and down the Sierra Nevada. You'll find it here in Southern California quite often. Sometimes, so right now we're at about an elevation of 6,600 feet, but I've seen them at about 1,000 feet, and they plant them in parks a lot. They're planted a lot in parks here in Southern California. So you go to like your little neighborhood park, they might have some white alders, and they'll have that same smell, but the trees will be a lot smaller, a lot more broad-crowned, and short-statured, much smaller in irrigated situations. Now white alder is generally a riparian tree found in deep canyons with at least underground surface flow. See right here, it's pretty dry. This is mid to late November, so things are pretty dry around here. So the white alders usually will be found in the creek, by the creek area. I think they can tolerate a decent amount of flooding, and they're quick to recolonize after flooding and disturbance. I believe they can resprout from their roots if they are damaged by coppicing or flood damage or fire damage. I believe they can resprout from their roots. Not 100%, but I'm pretty sure. You can see another one here backlit by the sun. And they're like I said, they're very common up and down the Sierras. I think they might be found in some of the coast ranges before you get to white alder, but don't quote me on that. And I know they're found in a few other states. They might be found, I don't know if they're found in Idaho or some of the other western states you can find them. And they very commonly grow with a very wide variety of trees. So up here, incense cedar, Calosagus decurrens, white fir, Obvious concolor, variety concolor, Jeffrey and ponderosa pine, sugar pine. And you can find them growing with coast live oaks and California sycamores at lower elevations. So and you can find them with basically a whole smorgasbord of willows. There might be spots where you'll see them with quaking aspens, possibly. and other types of cottonwoods. And I said they're pretty common here in Southern California where there are waterways. So try to see if I can find another couple. There are a couple of them around here. I really don't feel like bushwhacking. I'm not sure if they make it in the Baja. They might make it in the Baja, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But here in Southern California, any mountain ranges out here, any mountain ranges with canyons generally above 1,000 feet, but I don't think you have to be at 1,000 feet to find them. I've seen them in the Santa Ana Mountains of Orange and Riverside counties, like Silverado Canyon. They used to grow in Trabuco Canyon. They'll probably recolonize that area, because that area burned in the 2018 Holy Fire. But you see, we do have some puddles of water and a little trickle down here. And see, now we get the larger ones here, like this guy. This is a pretty decent sized white alder right here. So yeah, you find them a lot in the Santa Ana Mountains. You find them in the San Bernardinos, the San Gabriels, the San Jacintos, pretty much all of our non-desert mountain ranges. But they do live on the desert side of the mountain sometimes too. I've seen them in the canyons near Devil's Punch Bowl. I think there might be not like a full-blown record-size one, but there's supposed to be some near record-size ones, I think, in Holcomb Canyon near Devil's Punch Bowl. I think I'm mistaking that with one of the champion big-cone Douglas firs, but I know on the desert side of the San Gabriels, I believe, there might be some very large specimens as well. I think I'm mistaking that Holcomb Canyon with one of the champion big-cone Douglas firs, so I apologize for that. But yeah, next time you're out there in the mountains, if you're hiking near canyons, anywhere from near sea level, and I've seen them, I believe I've seen them above 8,000 feet. Come check out beautiful white alders, Alnus rhombifolia. That was another episode of Spotlight on Trees. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it entertaining and informative. And I'll see you on the next episode.